All right, we're live. My name is Jamie J, host of Live with Bottleneck, where we help stop the bottleneck in your business and in your life. I'm also the CEO and founder of Bottleneck Distant Assistants, where you can hire a dedicated distant assistant to help you out with your organization with regards to a personal assistant, project coordinator, and or a customer service representative. I'm also the author of Quit Repeating Yourself. So I'm excited today to talk with Scott Novis of GameTruck, and we'll be hopping into that conversation a little bit. And we're going to be talking about teaching team building and communication through video games. So we're really excited about that. So bear with us. 43 seconds. We'll go ahead and kick this thing off after the introduction. We're live. Thank you for checking out Live with Bottleneck. We are live right now on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, but we'll also be sharing this on Twitter and Instagram. If you're watching this in evergreen mode, please feel free to ask your questions away, and I will still make sure to get forward all of that information to Scott so that he can help you in the best way possible. If you're watching live and you have a question for Scott, feel free to chime in. If you're on Facebook, you have to select Facebook and say that it's okay. You can go to streamyard.com/Facebook and say, yes, I want to comment so that we can see your comments on Facebook. Otherwise, you can comment on YouTube and or LinkedIn, and love to hear what you have to say. And other than that, we can go ahead and get started. So today, I am talking with Scott Novis. We've talked a couple times in the past, and I'm really excited to talk about what it is he's doing. He has a very unique way of team building, and you're going to learn pretty soon. Teaching team building and communication through video games. Scott Novis, CEO and founder of Bravous. And GameTruck.com. Everyone will double pronounce that, but we'll get through it. Scott is the founder of, I think, is it Bravous? Bravous,
Brave
right?
us.
Brave us. Brave us.
Yeah.
Brave us. Us, we are brave.
We are brave. Bravely courageous.
And GameTruck, but it's a company that's helping businesses increase retention by facilitating highly dynamic live and virtual video game events for their employees. Scott comes from an eclectic background of professional influences. He has 2 engineering degrees, spent decades as a video game executive and worked as a Disney executive before leaving to found GameTruck, a nationwide franchise company that provides social gaming spaces for children at parties and special events. So without any further ado, please allow me to introduce you to the one and only Scott Novis. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on the show, Jeremy.
I'm so pumped we're finally able to connect because you're doing some pretty magical things. But before we jump into that, because I'm all about team building, I'm super fanatical about a positive company culture, and you doing what you do, I know you help a lot of organizations, or not necessarily help, but maybe guide and support organizations to build their teams. And I wonder, before we jump into what GameTruck is all about, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do, and kind of elaborate on the introduction.
Well, thank you. Really what we're all about is we want to create feelings of belonging in the groups that we work with. And it's not enough to just belong. You have to do things together to give your belonging meaning. And the way we do that is we host events that are, they're fun, private. It's just your group. We get people to play together. Play is a really, really powerful tool. And the 20 years I spent in the video game industry, I know a lot about what interactive technology can do. People have this sort of image. I say video games are, I'm not a gamer. I'm like, understand, but you're a human being, right? And as a human being, we have needs, we have ways we communicate. And what we want to do is take the technology to reinforce and build and strengthen basically friendships. And that's what we do. That's the whole goal, right? How do we build stronger relationships with the people that we spend so much time with? And I know for a fact video games can help if you're doing it the right way. It's like any other technology, any other movie. It's like what you're hearing about kids playing is one thing. There is a whole other segment of the industry, and it really boils down to cooperative gaming. And there's some really, really great games out there. In fact, we developed a game to solve the problem for remote and hybrid teams because we needed something that we could get. As I told the developers, your mom has to be able to play this. Everybody has to be able to get in effortlessly, zero friction. And when we get people playing together, it does a lot of really powerful things. And that's really the key is we're living in a world. Sherry Turkle, her book came out that was Reclaiming Conversation, that we're mediated by technology. Everybody's got a phone in their hands. Everybody's looking down. We don't talk to each other anymore. And how can we restart conversations, especially the newer generation, the Zs that are coming up? Games are how they interact with the world. Everything they do is through a screen or a device. So how do we get them normalized on board and get people talking? And as every owner wants, how do I get everybody, swimming in the same direction, rowing in the same direction? How do we get them all on board? And that's what our programs are designed to do. And some of the tips I can give you, you don't need me to do this. You can do this as well. Is if you pick games that are like Overcooked, Moving Out, Tools Up, there's a whole group of games now that people are playing together towards a common goal. They're not competing with each other. Like that's one of the keys is if you've heard of the term psychological safety. Well, competition runs opposite of psychological safety. So if you have a highly internally competitive environment, you may be unintentionally undermining healthy teamwork. And
can you define psychological safety?
Sure, absolutely. The psychological safety is the environment where people feel like they can bring their authentic selves and speak honestly and truthfully, and there won't be capricious repercussions. And so it's not about
eye rolling or like, oh my gosh. And
right. And it takes because really what it boils down to is you're talking about an environment where people feel seen, heard, known, and validated. Because if you can do those things, you don't trigger their self-doubt. If you trigger their self-doubt, fight or flight comes in. They become reactive. They shut down. Prefrontal cortex, all that power goes into your lizard brain, and you're ready to run or fight, which is not what you need for creativity or cognitive work like problem solving. So literally you lose your mind when you need it most. When people feel threatened, they stop thinking. We all do it. In fact, it'd be a total side thing, but related to this, like one of the worst things you can do for somebody is make them wrong. You publicly make somebody wrong, contrary to whatever belief that somehow if I give you all the facts and I prove that you're wrong, I will change your mind. That's not what actually happens to people. They double down on being wrong. Amazing book I'm reading right now is called Mistakes Were Made, But Not By Me. It goes into the psychology of how humans react when they're publicly shamed or humiliated. That's how they perceive being made wrong in front of everybody else. So that's not what we want to do. The exact opposite of that is, hey, you are a human being. You have ideas. The ideas may work or may not work, but you will always have value here.
Yeah,
so
I like that.
Can feel safe.
I don't want to. I want to interrupt you really quick because you bring up a really good point. This is the reason that I don't talk about politics or religion, just for the simple fact that you're really not going to change someone's beliefs anyways, especially on social media or something like that. But all it will do is create that. And to take that one step further, if we are successful in a certain venture or project that we're doing, the team 100% came through. If we fail, doesn't matter who it is, I failed.
Right.
And so I take responsibility for that. And I think that's really, really powerful. And I just wanted to kind of tap onto what you were saying, because this psychological safety thing, I'm glad you brought that point up. This is so important,
Yes.
as you said, to be creative.
Jim Collins called it out in Good to Great in Level 5 Leaders. Level 5 leaders, all leaders have windows and mirrors. And Level 5 leaders look out the window and go, I am so lucky to be here. How great things are going. And when things go wrong, they look in the mirror and go, okay, I got to step it up. I got to make it better. Non-Level 5 leaders, when things go wrong, look out the window and blame everybody but themselves. And when things are going great, they look in the mirror going, I am awesome. So psychological safety is about that Level 5 leadership. We own what we can control, and we create a safe environment. Like, one of the coolest things I was ever, like, this to me was Pixar. I got to be in a meeting with John Lasseter. We were working on the Cars video game. Amazing creative people. And he was passionate about getting the right answer. He wasn't passionate about being right. He wanted the whole team to get to the right answer. And he wanted everybody to feel safe, that they could argue passionately, it just with all their enthusiasm and all the care, you know, to get the right answer. And right answers are hard to get to. And that was an environment of, like, here's what they do. They teach everybody at Pixar how to draw. Everybody. You're in accounting, you learn how to draw. HR, you learn how to draw. Engineering, you learn how to draw. And they make you present, part of their onboarding process. And they make everybody present their work publicly.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Because that makes everybody deeply understand the incredibly risky business they're in of putting their hearts on the line to entertain audiences around the world. And they're in it together. They're risking it together. They live the man in the arena, you know, the poem or the you know, that thing. And they're like, this is what we do. Everybody. And so everybody in the company understands they're all a part of that mission. And that,
I love that. It takes, it lets people be vulnerable and gets them used to vulnerability.
Exactly. Because there's, Amy Edmondson identified 4 corporate cultures. And this is one of the things, if you're an owner and a leader and you get intentional about the culture you want, one of them, I think we all, is like the miserable people doing a miserable job that customers hate. It's easy to pick on the Department of Motor Vehicles. How about Spirit Airlines? I mean, my God, you know, they don't want you there. You don't want to be there. It's like, let's just get this miserable flight over with. Most companies, and I think if you walk into any bank or cell phone company, you know exactly what I'm talking about, is the mediocre middle. They're nice people. The customers are nice. It's like, look, I know you can't help me, and you know you can't make me happy. So let's just be nice to each other until this thing we have to do is done with. Everybody feels disempowered. You just sort of survive it together. The one that surprises a lot of companies is the talent-driven organization. And the illusion there is that if I just get the most talented people, I'm going to win. If you ever watch The Last Dance about the Bulls last season, you begin to see how toxic talent-only organizations that are purely competitive are. Like, Scottie Pippen still may not be over what happened to him with Michael Jordan and that whole season. It's unbelievable. They don't last. And the reason professional sports can get away with it is the unbelievable number of people that are lined up to take those jobs. Look at the turnover at the college levels, at the pro levels. Could you handle that level of turnover in your business? Well, right now, a lot of companies are having to deal with that for the first time. But most organizations are like, dear God, no, I don't want that level of turnover. That tends to fall into what, you know, you learn from the talent-driven organizations. And the biggest train wreck of all of that was Enron. You know, it was like, man, nobody could trust anybody. It was all about cutthroat performance until it collapsed. So what's left? Pixar. They love what they do. They love who they work with. And their customers cherish the work they make. And there hasn't been another organization that has had so many unprecedented, unqualified hits Like, that's a true championship team. And I think that's the culture. I know in my company, that's what I'm striving for. And I imagine a lot of your listeners, a lot of people, you listening right now, wouldn't it be great to go to work and go, God, I love working with these people? And how do you create that kind of culture? And so we use what I'm an advocate of. Let's take our professional careers not at risk. We don't want to risk that. Let's do something where we can play together. And when we're playing together, what we get are these benefits. Number one, everybody's synchronized, which doesn't happen as much in work today as it used to. That means everybody doing the same activity at the same time. And it's really powerful when human beings get synchronized. We're all playing the same game together, working toward a common goal. Two, what I love about these games, there's no one right answer. There's no best way to play this game. A lot of companies are this way. People wear lots of hats. They can do lots of jobs. My favorite is like in our game, Ready, Set, Cook. You play a cook. You run a restaurant. Any cook can do any task. No cook can do every task. You'll have to work together. You're going to have a conversation about how we're going to get this done. And those are the kind of conversations we want to practice. And that's where real leadership can come in and real tools can come in to go, how do you want your people talking to each other? How do you want to communicate, negotiate? Who's going to do what, where, when, so that there's transparency? That's where psychological safety is so important, when we have to figure out how we're going to work together, especially when things change. The last part of this is, well, actually there's 4 pieces. Unstructured, unplanned conversations. That's where friendships are made. Because we're playing together, we're doing things, the unexpected happens, we're talking to each other, we're planning, we're having more and more exchanges and dialogues that weren't premeditated. And that's the magic of actually playing a game. You get authenticity for free. It demands too much of your brain for you to fake it and play. When people pick up a controller or a keyboard and a mouse and they start playing, their real self comes out. The self that how they do work comes out. And so we get more authenticity, and everybody's doing it. So we get more connection. And that last part is, because we've done all this together, we formed new shared memories. That reinforces our group identity. And so as we go through these phases, we can play. Most of these games last 5 minutes. They're short bursts. But if we take time to talk and plan between the rounds, in a couple of hours, you can simulate teamwork, project work, and improve performance. Like projects in my company tend to last 90 days. It means we get 4 of those a year. In a game like this, we can get 4 of those in an hour. We spend 2 hours, we've done 8 of them. 3 hour, half day, we've done 12 rounds of this. We really, really get good at working out the bumps of how we talk and how we communicate with each other. And that's part of this key of culture, is role modeling it, letting them. It's teamwork. It is a contact sport. If I was going to teach you baseball and I never let you pick up a bat and I never let you swing, what do you know? So I'm a huge fan of workshops that let people actually apply the skills and the tools we're talking about. And I'll give you, here's the number one takeaway for your audience. If you're listening to this right now and you're leading people and you're working with them, I'm going to tell you one of the most powerful things you can do is get rid of the word why. You might have heard of the 5 whys, whatever. Stop asking that question. Change to how and what questions. And the reason you want to go for how and what questions is that if you want to influence somebody, they need those 4 things. They need to feel seen, known, heard, and accepted. And it's way more powerful to look at somebody and say, wow, tell me about that. What happened here? How did that outcome come around? Get their story. In Crucial Conversations, Carrie Patterson came up with the best model I've ever seen called the path to action. And it explains the psychology of how a lot of us work. Something happens. We tell ourselves a story about that. That energizes our feelings. Then we act. Now, we all have access to our own stories and feelings, so we know why we're doing what we're doing. We don't have access to other people's stories. And I'm now convinced we can't read other people's emotions. You have to ask them how they feel. And without that information, the lazy brain, at Microsoft, they call it flipping the Bozo bit. This happened. I don't understand why they acted that way. That person is a bozo. The way to get out of that is you see this happens. I don't understand why they're doing that. I'm missing information. Let me go ask. Hey, what happened for you? I saw this happen and you did this. Tell me about that. Those conversations are radically, radically different than when you start with why. If you start with why, you make the other person defensive. And now they got to justify what they did and they're arguing with you. And you have fallen into the trap of right making and wrong making. We don't want to be in the trap of right making and wrong making. We want to be in the position of leading, guiding, and helping people solve their problems so that they can perform and act better. We want better outcomes. That's the business we need to be in. And the most effective way I have seen to get people to alter their behavior and take ownership of the issue is start with understanding the story they were telling themselves and how it made them feel. Then I can understand why they acted the way they did, and then get to the next question going, wow, well, what could have made that different? What would have made a difference for you? What were you missing? What tools didn't you have? What was going on for you? And again, usually people will give me the answers. Like, oh, well, I didn't know I could do that, so I did this instead. Okay, well, that makes sense. Let's fix it. So number one, that's what we want to practice in gameplay, because the beauty of gameplay, safe place to fail. You're going to fail. You're going to go play a game and you're going to stink at it. And everybody's going to laugh about it. And it's going to let you get into, okay, what do we need to do to learn? Because the two big triggers that crush teams, it crushes all of us, uncertainty and urgency. And I can simulate both of those in a video game and let you practice with those two knobs. Because uncertainty says, I'm not sure I know what to do, and I'm not sure if I can do it. And then urgency gives me no way out. I have to act. And if we get pinched in between those and we don't have room to breathe and think, we don't think anybody has our back, we get shut down, we get super defensive. And that was what Amy Edmondson called impression management. Brene Brown called it, armoring up for shame. We basically drop out of creative thinking and problem solving. We get defensive and we play small. And then owners get frustrated going, God, I know this person is so talented. I know they're so capable. Why aren't they giving me their best? Because they're scared.
So all of this I totally agree with. Having a safe environment and giving people an opportunity to share ideas. And I love it all. Absolutely love it. Love the feedback. We just finished not too long ago our feedback with each of the team members for Q3 and quarter for planning. And hey, what did you guys think? How did we do in the second quarter? And did you achieve everything you wanted to? Where do you think you fell short? How do you think you can improve? These are the types of questions we had. And so many cool ideas came up from that. And then we leaned into, hey, this is what these are what I'm thinking, me talking to them, that we can accomplish. What do you guys think? Do you think this is achievable as a pie in the sky? Love your ideas. Do you think we should push this out? Is this, priority? And we came up with so many freaking cool ideas. It was really nice conversations. And I learned a ton because some of it I just didn't know what I didn't know. And
Right.
it was very enjoyable. So going to the game, what was the name of the game again?
Okay, so there's the game that we developed is Ready, Set, Cook. And email me and we could set that up for you, because that's like specifically designed for remote, so virtual and hybrid teams because of their special needs, versus the other ones are like Overcooked is nearly a very similar game. There's three I recommend: Overcooked, Tools Up, and Moving Out. And they're available on consoles, like everything. Like you can get them on a Nintendo Switch or an Xbox or a PlayStation. And a lot of times what companies will do is they'll hire GameTruck, because we can bring out a suitcase full of equipment. And it's like, we'll turn your conference room into an arcade. So we can just show up and take over. Like I did an event for in Oregon, and I had 90 officers from the Oregon National Guard playing video games. It was awesome.
And where are you? Are you in Oregon?
No, because these things fit in a suitcase, so I travel. So it's basically like I just take 4 Pelican cases. I show up, give me the room, we flip it over, and we do a half-day training seminar. And it was fascinating because they're all professionals. In addition, that whole 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year, and we got great feedback. They said it was one of the best teamwork training programs they'd ever been through, and
That's awesome.
because it was applied. And while they are all in the guard together, they're all running their own wings and their own units. They don't actually work together. So the other place we've had tremendous success with this is professional development for teachers, because that's another room where if you've got a business where people come together and then they separate to go do their work in isolation, activities like this give them a chance to feel like a team and come back together and talk and connect and form new memories. And when you get people laughing together, like the endorphins that get released, like we literally have neurocircuitry in our heads for play. It serves a biological person. A guy named Yak Panskep found the neurocircuitry in rats, and we're really similar to rats. And I'll tell you something interesting about that. And it actually goes to, if you got kids, you want to pay attention to this one. It has to do with competition. The rats have a sense of fair play. If you get rats in rough and tumble play and one of them is much bigger than the other, the bigger rat can always beat up the little rat. But just like you were telling me the story about talking with your team, and you're like, I learned so much from them. It's the subordinate rat that invites the dominant rat to play. And if the bigger rat doesn't let the little one win enough, the little rat will stop inviting the big one to play, and they both suffer. They measured that percentage, and it was 30 to 40% of the time the little guy needed to win. And if you think humans are different than rats, open up ESPN.com and go look at the MLB standings, NFL standings, NHL standings, NBA standings, and look at the bottom teams and look at their losing percentages or winning percentages. It's almost always in the 30 to 40%. Sports that persist over time are fair. The worst teams still have a chance to win 30 to 40% of their games. So it's baked into us that it's okay to lose as long as I don't lose all hope, but I want to feel like I have a chance. And play does some other things, is that it teaches us the boundaries. It's the safe place to practice. Like the real reason we have sports, I've come to believe, it's the best tool we've come up to teach people how to perform under pressure. Wooden called it being your best when your best is most needed. Super transferable skill. So the reason I mentioned kids is when you're getting kids involved in sports, make sure they are getting enough play time and that they actually have the opportunity to have enough success for it to feel fair. And that's what has been so brutal with kids sports, is it's so insanely competitive. Colleges are now recruiting out of middle schools, almost into elementary schools. And by 11 years old, 70% of kids fall out of team sports because they just don't ever get to play.
Yeah.
So
I saw, what's his name? Arch Manning, sophomore in high school, and he's already been recruited to college. Paul.
Right.
Crazy. He can't even,
I mean,
I don't know. Enjoy high school, man. I hope he does.
Enjoy. So I'm a giant fan of Little League. At least they let everybody play, and there's an emphasis on that. And that's part of that, but the same things happen for us at work. If we end up with a, Enron kind of environment where it's super competitive and it's all about winning and losing, there's a lot of negative that can come out of that. Then it becomes about right making and wrong making. It's like, is that really the business we're in? Or is we want to be in the business of, delivering our brand promise for our customers so they trust us? And we've got a team that's motivated and passionate about doing that can delight and surprise customers because they care. Or are they busy being defensive because they're scared because they might lose?
Yeah. And then number one reason why people leave a position, do you know what that is?
Tell me.
They didn't get along with their manager. They felt intimidated.
Right.
They felt squeezed. They wanted to go somewhere else where they could feel better about themselves. So
and this is one of those things I want to add on that, because I agree with you. And what happens at a lot of companies, especially tech companies, people get promoted. I was one of those people. They got promoted for their technical prowess. They're an individual contributor, and now they're a manager. how are you supporting them as a manager? How are you training them on the soft people skills? How are you helping them champion the rest of their team? It's really stressful for individual contributors to not have good support on the soft skills and know what they're expected to do and how they're expected to do it. And that's part of video game doesn't fix that. It's like a batting cage, right? But it's a safe place to practice those skills and let people make some mistakes without it being life or death or career ending, and to shape the way they're doing. Like, one of the favorite things I do with these games is take the manager and go, put your either watch and you're not allowed to play, or you're playing and you put your controller down and now manage your team and make what management is super clear for people. Every time I've done this hundreds and hundreds of times. Every time I do this, what I get is color commentary. Oh, we're out of dishes. Well, you just shouted that to the whole team. Guess what everybody did? Stopped what they're doing, and every single person, like kids in Little League chasing a ground ball, like a swarm of bees or dog pile of puppies, everybody goes to the dirty dishes. That's not management. The function of management is to manage the flow of information so the team can relax and focus on the task at hand and be super successful at what you need them to do. And so one of our rules in teaching people how to manage is that management is giving somebody, calling them by name, so you're recognizing them as a human being and giving them assignment and telling them the expectations. They'd be like, Jamie, I need you to get 4 plates, right? Please stop chopping onions. Go get 4 plates. And then I'm paying attention while you're focused on the 4 plates to what your next assignment is going to be. I'm running interference from you so that you can spend most of your time focused on the task at hand without panicking, worrying, rushing. You calm down, conversations calm down, people can talk to each other more clearly, cleanly, and effectively, because management is reducing chaos to cosmos. Order. Managers create order, not chaos. And
we hope
that is a skill. Well, I would say the job of a manager is to create cosmos instead of chaos. Chaos is really easy to generate.
That's really neat, because it's a really neat way to identify potential shortcomings. And, again, it's an opportunity for your vulnerability to shine. I love it.
It really is. One of the most powerful things for people to go through this is we go back and ask the team, were your feelings hurt when, Jamie, were your feelings hurt when Scott asked you to do the task? You're like, no, thank God. Like, I come to rely on, I'm getting the information. Employees want to know what they're supposed to do. They don't have to figure it out. And it's less stressful for them when it's clear. And it's always a light bulb moment when they realize, oh, you'd be shocked. I was this way. Well, and probably a lot of your own is where I was afraid to ask people to do what needed to be done.
Absolutely. And a big contributor to creating stress is to simply not knowing. And that can be stressful.
Uncertainty,
unplanned.
Right.
And
urgency.
I always go like, I want to let you guys know in advance, so that if I let you know something today and it's like driving into a brick wall, it's not good. But if I let you know and give you a little lean, it's a hill. It's going to be a little tough to grind. We'll have to be first gear, just grind it. But it's a gradual increase. You're not slamming into something. And I think that's a kind of a neat visual or, representation of being able to communicate effectively.
Well, the other reason that in effective communication, right, I think that is where people have a common understanding and a common vision and a common language.
Yep.
The thing I like about games is that I encourage leaders to also sit back and watch. Like, we built a spectator mode into our game so that when do you actually get to see your team execute and do their jobs? When do you actually get to see them communicate and how they perform under stress and how they work? And so coaches a lot of times are on the sidelines watching the players execute. In business, we rarely get to do that. In business, we're usually so swamped with our own stuff and things we're dealing with. We trust that people are off doing what they're doing. And that visibility and connection is also part of the teamwork and the culture. It's like, I see you. I see what you did. Awesome. Great job. Encouragement, whatever. But you learn from, like, we're tribal. And so at a minimum, we want to create those opportunities for people to come together tribally and do something together and practice that and communicate together. And it can be really valuable for leaders and managers to see their teams working together towards getting something done, even if it's frivolous, like, moving furniture out of a truck into a room, or we're going to remodel this room together and try not to spill paint all over the place and have fun along the way. Seeing people do that is really valuable because it gives them insights into the dynamics and how people talk. We definitely, I remember one session we did where a manager kind of had a feeling there was a communication problem with somebody on his team. And as soon as we played the game, he's like, oh yeah, no, this is a real thing. This isn't imagined. It became very visceral. And then that led to a whole coaching program and a solution for that individual. And that clarity is, what we try to bring.
I love that. I'll make one comment, and then out of respect for your time, we'll go ahead and wrap. But one of the things we like to do during some of our meetings is invite one of the team members to do a 5-minute training on what it is that they do. And it's exciting to see what happens because, and for instance, we had a designer. He actually designed a cartoon character for Bottleneck. And we ended up calling it Bottleneck Bob, and we've adopted it as our chat bot. And
that's
it's
awesome.
Really neat. But it gives people two things: gives the rest of the team perspective on what it takes to plan and design something, because it sets people expectations. Like, hey, can you design this for me real quick and get it over to me? Well, no, there's a process, but they get to see that. Plus, the designer, they kind of get to say, hey, look, this is what I do.
Yeah.
And it's really neat. And so we learned a lot through that. For instance, one time it had nothing to do with work. She showed us a tip on how to paint corners in the room. And everybody's like, I didn't know that. But it's just kind of neat sometimes how that stuff kind of works out, and how you kind of gain insight into perspective, personality, and it gives somebody a voice. And it's like, my voice matters. And people like what I'm doing. People are paying attention to this, and it kind of builds the esteem, builds the character. And what we like to be able to do is give everybody an opportunity to make their own decisions. So is it good for the company? Is it good for the internal team? Is it good for the clients? Because the company's not doing well financially or culturally. How in the world are we supposed to be able to take care of our internal team that's making everything go? And if our internal team is not happy, how in the world can we expect them to support our clients? And almost in that same breath, every task is assigned 3 things. 1 is the name of the task. 2 is confirm the task so that we both understand it. And the 3rd thing is a signal. People ask, what is a signal? In order to avoid interrupting expectations, how do I know, and how does the person that's been delegated that task know when that task is done? We need to come up with a signal, and that way it sets both of our expectations. And in doing so, the communication is wide open. We're clear. And once that's completed, I now have the confidence to delegate even more responsibility, or whomever should have more confidence in delegating responsibility, and vice versa. The person that's getting that task delegated to them, they know what they need to do. So they feel confident, reduces stress, and ultimately provides for a better culture.
Because, one of the things a lot of entrepreneurs and startups struggle with is delegation, right? How do I know somebody's going to do it as well as me? How do I know it's going to be done right? So I love your signal terminology because it creates, what does done mean? A kind of a funny story from the video game studio is that was a super loaded word for us. When marketing said done, they meant March 31st, this product is on the shelf. A consumer can buy it and go home and play it. The lead developer heard it's done on March 31st means I've just printed the gold disc that we're going to submit to Sony or Microsoft for approval. And then we'll begin bug testing. So, big swing in expectations on done. And I had people that were the full spectrum of it's coded and checked into. One of the smartest guys on my team is like, oh, it's done. What that meant was he now knew how to approach the problem. He hadn't coded anything yet. He hadn't done any of the work. But in his mind, he now understood how this was going to happen. So in his mind, it was just done. The rest was just details. And it was just like, if people use the word done, we had to have long, like, okay, what do you mean?
Define done.
Right. So I love your signals, because that's changing the word like that is valuable, because it gets people to ask, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Instead of them assuming they know what it means. So that's really great stuff.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I wanted to let people know, how do they get in touch with you if they want to get in touch with you? I want to respect your time. I know we've gone over.
Oh, yeah. The easiest way is email me at hello@scottnovis.com. Hello@scottnovis.com. And I am on social media, everything at Scott Novis. So LinkedIn is where I'm most active. And I do blog about business, the systems of writing a business, the mindset, what it takes to grow and scale a business. As I like to remind my friends in the Entrepreneurs Organization that it's exciting they've sold their business. Well, I sold mine 100 times, right? That's what a franchise is. And I have franchisees that run the business better than I ever did. It can be done. You can do it too. So, what does it take to do that? How do you think about it? And I'm just really passionate about helping people, make friends at work, at school. Like, I don't like defining the mission in the negative, like anti-bullying. I'm all for anti-bullying. What is replacing bullying? What's the vision we want to have? And for me, I see the loneliness, I see the disconnection, I see the pain it causes. It's like, well, what should replace that? And that's why I talk about friendship. And one of those Gallup #1 questions about engaged employees is, do you have a friend at work? And if you don't, then chances are, you're ripe to change jobs. And that, friendships, better relationships, like that, we want to get beyond simple connection, right? If I just Slack you, I connected with you. But do we have a relationship? And that's why I love, like, the questions you ask. You're helping people feel seen and heard and known. Like, I know how to paint corners. This is how I do my job. They're being understood. And it's so empowering for teams when they feel like everyone on the team understands them. Everyone feels like, yeah, okay, I see you. I know you. I appreciate you. That builds relationships. That creates the opportunities for friendships. And we just want to give business owners tools to be able to do more of that in their companies. Because here's the payoff. There's a study they did. The book was Scrum by Jeff Sutherland. And they found a study that Joel from Fogsbugs did this, and I thought it was genius. Yale students, they're all A's. They're on paper, you'd think they're all the same. They're all computer science grads. They're all A students. They're not all as fast as each other. The delta was 10-1. The homework that took one student an hour to get an A took another student 10 hours to get an A. You'd like to hire the 1 hour student, right? They're hard to find. The delta for teams was 2,000-1. That means identically qualified teams that took a week to do work took another team 2.5 years to do the work.
Holy.
Teamwork's no joke. Getting people to work together better isn't just nice. It isn't just more comfortable. It is efficiency on an epic scale. It's the biggest knob you can turn. And it is the biggest shortcoming in leadership training, because what we spend all our time doing is telling you how to talk to somebody better. That's the hub and spoke model. How's the tire?
Mm-hmm.
That's where that's the rubber that hits
rubber
the road.
Meets the ground.
Right? That's what teamwork is the tire. That's where everybody's connected to everybody else. How your team gets along with each other is way more important than how they get along with you. And what you can do to foster an environment where the team supports each other, so you've got a great tire for that great hub and spoke, you go faster, and it'll take you where you want to go, and it'll be more fun to drive.
Wow. I love it. Great advice. I really appreciate it. Do you have a second? We'll go ahead and wrap up.
Yeah.
But can you hold on just a second while I wrap up?
Absolutely.
Okay. 1 sec. So we've been talking with Scott Novis. I would go on. This is everything, in my opinion. This is what I love this. I love this conversation. If your organization is growing, if you're trying to figure out how to find answers to certain projects you're working on, you're coming up on challenges, this might be something that you look into. I would highly encourage you to visit scottnovis.com or send an email to hello@scottnovis.com. Reach out to Scott. He's most active on LinkedIn, but he's on all social media. I would encourage you to reach out to him and check out those games. So many of us are virtual and hybrid teams now. So his game, Ready, Set, Cook, ask him about that. I've seen a demo of it. It's pretty cool. Highly recommend that you reach out. And so I've been talking with Scott Novis about teaching team building and communication through video games. Today is Wednesday, 29th, 2022, 2 p.m. Central is when we started, 3 p.m. Eastern. However, this is evergreen. So if you're just seeing this for the first time at another time, please, I encourage you to reach out to Scott and send him an email. That being said, if you would like to learn how you can break through the bottleneck in your business today, go to bottleneck.online/BTV. I am the author of Quit Repeating Yourself. You can go to quitrepeatingyourself.com and learn how today's leaders are using systems and processes to grow their business the right way. Quit repeating yourself. Hashtag quit repeating yourself. Hashtag QRY. And I have some pretty funny stories in there, also some pretty serious stories and some challenges that I had to personally overcome using systems and processes, incorporating an incredible team. As I said, Scott Novis, CEO and founder. We're going to say GameTruck. GameTruck. Go to GameTruck.com to learn more about it. If you missed previously, Melanie Hirschhorn, and by the way, she's the one that gave me the tip that I should say I'm an author. Quit repeating yourself at the beginning of this. So thank you so much, Melanie. She's a book marketing strategist and founder of VIP Digital Content. We talked about how to make your book and brand shine online. She had some incredible tips for you. If you have your manuscript done, that's a great time to reach out to her. Coming up soon to your earbuds, the keys to running a successful virtual career fair. Steve Edwards is founder and CEO of Premier Virtual, coming Wednesday, July 6th, 2022 at 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern. Can't wait for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. I want to say thank you for spending your time with us here today, and hope you have a wonderful day. Remember, create your own ripple. Don't forget, it's very important to create your own ripple and be positive. Thank you so much for watching Live with Bottleneck. My name is Jamie J, CEO and founder of Bottleneck Distant Assistance, and I hope, and on behalf of Scott Novis, hopes that he's kind of helped you stop the bottleneck in your business and possibly even your life. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you again soon.